expected, and it's a period of uncertainty. But I think within the last week, we did quite a good job. This is the second LocPub in 1 week time. We also had a networking event, and yesterday Sarah had a presentation on marketing. So I think these events will keep us together and also motivate us to have to overcome these challenging times. Just one note: we have prepared 3 additional rooms after the presentations are done. I will put them on the chat box, the meeting IDs on the chat box, so that instead of everyone sitting in one room, we will have 4 different rooms, including Indre's. And thank you again for joining today, and hope it goes well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alp. Okay, so let's start with the unit. Unit, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Perfect.
Hello everyone. Can I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Do you see my presentation right now?
Latest version of Zoom?
Yeah.
Yes.
I edit this slide so that, I mean, I noticed we have become Zoomers, all of us. So just as a reminder, if you feel like some of the functions of Zoom do not work at your end, that means you don't have the latest version of Zoom and you are using it through your Chrome browser. So make sure to go to zoom.us/download and download the latest version, and then you will have the latest functionalities. Also, your browser should be updated, and make sure that you have enabled camera and microphone access. I noticed you already enabled camera and microphone, but this applies to other remote interpreting applications as well. If you are using Zoom as an interpreting platform, you have to select one channel and mute the original. That is what these are some of the typical things that people don't know about Zoom. So I put them in the very beginning of my presentation. I can send you a copy of it if you like. But the thing is, I mean, we are having these meetings with a lot of companies these days because conference industry has gone down dramatically. 30% of my business is interpreting, so you might imagine how much money I have lost and I will be losing all around the year. It's a nightmare. So I am trying to convince everyone to move on to remote interpreting platforms. Just a disclaimer, I am not affiliated with Zoom or any other agencies. I am a conference interpreter and owner of Dragoman Translation. After this meeting, if you want to reach us, we can also help you with not only conference interpreting, but also subtitling, transcreation, and different ways of automating translation workflows. Not only machine translation, although we have a couple of engines, our own NMT models, which are 60 to 70% better than Google Translation, Turkish English. Our quality is much higher. We have 4 or 5 domains. If you want to try, we can go over it. But we also have different scripts and widgets to automate your translation workflows. So that is us. We used to have this much of volume, serving mostly to end clients. We have about 500 active accounts, mostly transcreation. Okay, so remote interpreting. I'm not sure how many of you are interpreters or have done interpreting or have tried interpreting before. But if you want to do remote interpreting, these are 4 pillars, ladies and gentlemen. You need broadband internet. You need good computer. Good means I'm using Intel i7 processor. i5 works, i3 doesn't. If you are using Mac, Mac Air is okay. But our computers are not designed for video conferencing. They quickly heat up, and then the screen freezes. A lot of people complain about, you know, freezing screens, losing audio connection, because it is the heat. Mostly the reason is and we have summer months ahead for most of us. So I recommend a better computer, and I'm using a very simple gadget, which is this. It's very simple. I'm putting this under my laptop just to give it more ventilation. Very simple, just I think 5 or 10 lira available in a store. I mean, keep it simple and make sure your camera is working and your microphone comes with this headset. This is a noise canceling microphone. Otherwise, because most of the earbuds I've noticed people are using are designed to listen, they are not designed to speak. So if you are in remote interpreting, you need something that is designed to talk. And you need a backup plan. Backup plan means what happens if the power goes down? What happens if your microphone, you know, is broken or your computer stopped working? A lot of companies, I mean, I know we are LSPs, but you might be receiving requests from global interpreting platforms. They will be sending you their sheets, which require 2 internet lines, at least a backup computer. I mean, everybody requests more or less the same thing. So if you plan to move on to this, you need a backup plan. As an LSP, what you can do also, you can have part of your office, design it as a silent room where you have all this setup, because interpreters may not do it themselves. You know, I mean, not every interpreter has a quiet room at home, or maybe their computer is just a tablet. So maybe as an LSP, since your offices are now redundant, you may think about, you know, I believe you have good computers, maybe your UPSs, so you can consider transforming your office to an interpreting studio. Because when we are talking among interpreters and we are asking each other this, will you be joining me in a booth? And the answer is no. You know, and for those who haven't seen interpreting booths, they are 2 by 2, you know, 2 meters by 2 meters. Some are smaller. And 2 is the height, so 8 cubic meters. 2 people in 8 cubic meters for 6 hours. If one of us has COVID-19, the other one will get the disease quickly. So no interpreter wants to sit in the same box with a colleague these days. I have seen photos from Europe for 2 interpreters. Now they are bringing 2 boxes, 2 booths, 2 separate booths. And I have seen some photos from Germany. Some LSPs transformed their office to interpreting studios, where interpreters come to the office and they sit with a distance to each other. Everything is taken care of. Everything is hygienic, because people are scared to go to the hotels, to the conference centers, or to parliaments, because there is heavy human traffic. So considering post-corona scenarios, some LSPs may move on to interpreting hub businesses. I mean, we are also, we have our plans. We have already opened 1 studio in Istanbul for ourselves. Before Corona, we did that. So we are ready for that business, and we are doing some business. But for you guys, I mean, you may consider that as well. But talking about video, I've noticed a lot of people are now using synchronous video. How many more minutes do I have, Indre? 5? I didn't hear you, but I think I have 5 minutes, right?
I muted myself, sorry. You have 7, 8 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I've noticed everyone is trying to synchronize on meetings. And I want to encourage you to use asynchronous or non-synchronous videos. Record yourself and consider introducing your business on video, but not on live video. Okay? And if you want to train your team, encourage your team, send them video messages. You can do this on WhatsApp as well, but try using other tools, because 93% of our communication is nonverbal. We know this from industry events. I mean, if you send me an email introducing your company, I'm going to read it. If we meet in a conference, we will have a face-to-face interaction. If we have a drink, it's even better. But these days, it's all remote. And if you expect, yeah, cheers to you, James, as well. Salute. And so, I mean, if you want to help people overcome sense of isolation, try using video, but not always like this. I mean, I would encourage everyone to prepare quick videos about their services. For example, I am James Mayet, France. I am, you know, whatever I mean, you want to say. I mean, you can have it in a casual way, or you can dress up in your suit like Bogdan did with the coffee, you know, I mean, all your charisma, everything. And because the main, I mean, I know I am diverting from my topic, but trust is everything. And people will not be seeing us, our translators, our clients, our colleagues. And I want to thank Alp for starting all this, because I think we quickly remembered each other. I mean, some of you I've never seen for first time. Some of us, maybe we met in the conference, but we forgot because 500 people come to big conferences. So it's just a card. So seeing in person, really, seeing is believing. Please focus more on video, synchronous and asynchronous, both. And talking about back to interpreting, these are not preferred. So if you want to, and these days, since business is scarce, talent will be rare. Everyone is trying to farm the same interpreting pool. Everyone is trying to get from the same pool. So how can you make sure that the talent is going to work with you? You need to understand the pain of the interpreters, okay? Interpreters love traveling because we don't pay. Companies pay, you know. We travel to all around. I mean, I used to go to New York twice a month, and I would stay on the Fifth Avenue mostly, New York Palace. I mean, that was my life, all paid. Not anymore. So, I mean, it's a great pain, believe me, believe me. And then somebody calls and says, oh, we have a meeting on Skype. You know, you're going to watch it on Instagram, okay? And then you're going to interpret on Skype. Interpreters hate these kind of requests, okay? Know your audience. We don't like these. I mean, if you pay good enough, people do it, but I recommend hardly not to use these non-interpreting platforms. What are interpreting platforms? These are some of the examples. Zoom is a recent player. It's not designed as an interpreting platform, but it has a functionality, it works, and plus Zoom is a great conferencing tool. It has breakout rooms, it has advertising facilities, so many different facilities. So millions of people are using Zoom, companies are using Zoom. So when you say to your clients, oh, are you using Zoom? Yes. Do you want us to add interpretation to Zoom? It's an instant sales opportunity. Otherwise, if you try pitching the other players, which are better platforms for interpreting, these are all better, Interpretify, Kudo, Catalava. It's a different sales pitch. Oh, who is Interpretify? I mean, or who is VoiceBox? That's one thing. And the other thing is, these guys, they are also, they are selling interpreters themselves. So for example, you are working with Roche in Israel. If you take Roche to Kudo, you will probably lose Roche in 2 months because Kudo will be working for them. And once they start in Israel and then they say, oh, you know, we work with Roche Israel. Do you want to work with Roche France? So all of a sudden, you will be advertising for some platform owners. So, and I tell you, I'm not going to name any one of them, but ethics in terms of business ethics among interpreting platforms is a very rare commodity. They don't really care. They just want to expand.
Excuse me, Ümit, 2 more minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, because I mean, their business is to sell their app. They don't care if you're an LSP or if you're an interpreter. But at the end of the day, you may be needing these guys, but I strongly advise, you know, signing a non-competition or non-confidentiality agreement with these chaps. Because I mean, they don't have interpreting background, they don't know our industry, and all of a sudden you just you may be giving your best clients and interpreters to someone who was a total stranger to this industry only a few months or years ago. So be careful when you're working with these chaps. Although I love some of them and I work with them, I mean, but every now and then we notice that, you know, our interpreters and our clients evaporate. I mean, it's happening. So that's why I am a strong advocate of Zoom, because it's a not competitor, and my clients are using Zoom on a daily basis. I mean, we were locked down on March 7 or 8, I guess. Next Monday, we went home on Friday. Next Monday, we got 2 jobs on Zoom. That quick. Because client is using Zoom, they asked us, oh, can you add interpretation? I said, yes, and then instant sales. So, anyhow, closing remarks. This is our website, dragoman.ist, my LinkedIn profile, my email. Feel free to contact me anytime you want. That was my 15 minutes. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Umit. That was really interesting. Even I found some interesting information. I'll applaud, you know, on behalf of everyone, because everyone is muted. So, okay, Nana, do we have any questions to Umit, maybe? Nana, we cannot hear you, even if you say something.
Yeah. So sorry. So no
questions yet.
No questions from the chat. But
okay,
maybe somebody
thanks.
wants to ask something now. So.
Yeah, unless someone wants to ask.
Just a final remark. I will add our YouTube channel's link to the chat. On our YouTube channel, we have 6 or 7 videos on how to use remote interpreting platforms, including Zoom. What are the pitfalls? What needs to be done? There are longer sessions, recorded sessions. And I will just type it in so that you can watch later, okay?
Okay,
thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's go on then. John, are you ready to take your 10 minutes of glory? John?
You're muted, John.
Very good. Okay. Sorry, guys, I was preparing my slides. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to talk about machine translation for 10 minutes. And give me 2 seconds to figure out how to share my screen.
Just press on a share screen
there.
button.
That should be it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what I've done is I've actually just prepared a small number of slides, because whenever I do a short talk, I always have too many slides. That means if I finish quickly, we'll just do a Q&A. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, 10 minutes starts now.
Good, and I'll try and finish before that. So most of you guys don't know me. I don't think you've met me at conferences. Of course, there are some exceptions there. Indre and I were at Oktoberfest not so long ago.
That was confidential, John. No, sorry.
No, a lot of business is done in Munich at Oktoberfest. I live in Munich.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit about me, but that's relevant because I spent a few years of my life just working on what machine translation means to LSPs. Okay, so I can't really talk about that without giving you a little bit of background about myself, which means I have to talk about myself. So my background is I studied computational linguistics, computer science, with a strong slant towards computational linguistics and German in the 1990s. Now, my degree came with a language component, and I ended up teaching in the German department in the university I studied. So I also consider myself to be, let's say, a translator level linguist, and I review a quarter of my time and translate maybe 5 or 10%. So I look at machine translation very much from a user perspective, but I'm also interested in what it means to the industry and what it means on the ground when you're working with it. And I can talk a little bit without going into too much detail on clients, with client IP, about a large machine translation project we have running at the moment that will finish probably in a couple of months. for an automotive end client. So yeah, I'm currently a member of the program committee for AMTA 2020, which is to say that if anybody's interested in going to a conference in September, and I realize that's got a big question mark on it, it's I think around the same time as the Gala conference. It's in Florida, isn't it? Yeah, anyway, it's in the States. And I have been there before, and I'm going to talk about a paper I presented there in 2013 and just take you through the salient points that I feel have helped me manage machine translation projects in my own translation agency. I am absolutely conscious that a lot of people on this call already have machine translation projects running and have figured out some of this stuff for themselves, or have found perfectly good workarounds for maybe not having all of the data that you might otherwise want to have. So I worked with, I decided one day that I was tired of programming. I wanted to do a PhD. I was making a living as a programmer. I had run an agency for a few years, and I decided to sign up as a PhD student and spend all my time working on machine translation research within the university environment in about 2009, just around the time of the first crash, actually. I did about a year of in-house work with Relocalize, a very large IT company that we've all heard of, I'm sure. And we developed a version of Omega T that could measure translator productivity by measuring time at a segment level, okay? So if you're interested in that, and I doubt many people will be because it's kind of statistical stuff, I'm just going to give you a quick run through what I think is in the paper. So we ran a test on over 100,000 words that was thrown in the bin afterwards, okay? These were words that had been translated a year beforehand by the end customer, who was Autodesk. We were simply doing it in order to inform the pricing negotiation. All right, so can you imagine that? You translate 100,000 words you don't have to translate in order to get a number, one single number. And that single number was how much faster were the translators with this particular machine translation content, okay? Now, at the time, this is roughly what the market looked like in about 2019 in terms of CAT tools. And as you can see, the web-based CAT tools like MemSource weren't as popular as they are today. It's easier to get time data from a web application if it supports it. For example, XTM supports it, right? MakeCat supports time data. Okay, so time data for post-editing projects makes it easier to get the pricing right. But that doesn't mean that you need time data to get pricing. I have to admit that we just set a price early on in the project. And if the translators accept it, that's great. And if they don't accept it, that's great too. How I feel about time data, you can gather it, it's useful. It can help you with other things. So for example, just as an example, we run a project at the moment that has a lot of repetitions and can have 100,000 segments in a file. And I think anybody here who knows Trados well knows that Trados will freeze when the translator moves from one segment to the next if you've got 20 repetitions of the same segment, right? So we have a plugin for Trados that we use that measures the segment transfer time, and we can see if a translator is being slowed down because Trados is slowing them down. We can measure the freeze, basically. Okay, so
just John, sorry to interrupt. 4 minutes left.
Good. Okay. So yeah, what we learned from this very large productivity test, this was done in 2013, and I'm unaware of any productivity test where the data was published from an LSP environment. What we learned is that if you send the same data, the same machine translation source, the same same machine translation, what we call proposals, with the same source text to two different translators, you can often get a difference in productivity that's quite pronounced. So if you zoom in here on FRC, French Canadian TR1 and TR2, one guy's 40% faster than the other with the same machine translation. So let me try and translate that into an actionable perspective for a translation agency. The actionable perspective is you're going to be spending more time on vendor management, okay? Because if you have FRCA TR2 working on your project, there's no point in asking that person for a discount. They're no faster with the machine translation. Now this gets a bit complicated because sometimes machine translation is really, really good. So you can be 3 times faster with the machine translation. And then if you don't machine translate some segments, you lose money on the project. So this is just something that we do at the start to help us get our pricing right and to make sure that the conversation that we have with the translators is based on a win-win scenario. They should be earning a little bit more per hour because they're post-editing. Usually it comes on high volume projects. In particular, this we have an automotive project where we would typically ask translators to post-edit 10,000 words per day. And they make much more money, to be honest with you, than they would if they were translating at the full word price, doing a difficult marketing text where they can't have any typos, right? So my experience with machine translation is that we have some accounts where the machine translation doesn't affect the quality too much. And we have some accounts where it certainly does. And the challenge is to maintain the relationship with the customer despite the quality issue. So sometimes that means taking an LQA sheet, you know, the Excel sheets that we get in written translation projects with feedback, and just pushing back and saying, I'm sorry, we can't look for spaces before colons. This is not the purpose of the project. The purpose of the project is so that there's high fidelity between the source and the target. We're not trying to make something pretty. We're trying to make something that's an accurate translation. And they will typically ask for 50,000 words the next day within 24 hours. That's not an unusual request. My favorite request was 500,000 words. I said, are you asking for it tomorrow? They said, yes, we are. But we were able to push it for a week. So we were able to do the 500,000 words within a week. If you have a large team of post editors working, one of the difficulties on these time-sensitive projects is what happens if the machine translation gets bad. Indications for that are tag forests, okay, where you've got high tag density, lots of tags, but because of an OCR process. So OCR really screws up machine translation quality because it fragments the sentences incorrectly before they go into the machine translation system. I don't want to insult your intelligence by telling you what the MT systems are that are ideal in your languages, because there's too many people on the call, but it's not hard to find. And if you want to build your own, people tell me they get good results with Morphologic, who are still independent. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say about machine translation.
Thank you very much, John. I just want to share, you know, one image, if I can say so. This is, I wrote a post yesterday on Facebook that was in Lithuanian, and then I translated it into English with Facebook machine translation. Actually, so you can read it now.
Yeah, actually, it's the Facebook is showing me a lot of, you know, machine translations by default, and I have to click on
see the original
buttons to see the originals.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. And this is actually, I had 2 questions for John, but first we can read this and then
yeah. So well, maybe you read, I don't know, but you know what I like the most is that I ran then, you know, my professional lovers, this is what I like the most.
What were they smoking is the question.
Yeah, and smoking. Yeah, this was really fun. Okay, Nana, the stage is yours.
Yeah, so my question, actually 2 questions is, do you have any experience with machine translation for small languages?
Yes, yes. My recommendation would be, by default, go to DeepL. Then you're not messing around with training engines. If you have a large translation memory, then if you're free to do so, and be careful to read your NDA. Like we do not upload our automotive end client's translation memory to anybody, right? We just wouldn't. Yeah. In fact, the machine translation is provided by the automotive end client through an agency that we work for. So in most cases, Microsoft Translator Hub is a very good trainable system if you're not too precious about your translation memory IP. And if you want to have something that's completely secret to you, my advice to you would be something like Morphologic or any of the systems that, like Asia Online, they're called Omniscient now as well. They have pretty cheap, pretty inexpensive systems that they'll kind of give you one engine for.
Okay, great, thank you. And the second question, and we have another one from Alp later. So, in your experience, what kind of people are the best people for machine translation post editing as editor?
Yeah, that's a really tough question to answer. But my simple answer is people who are already pretty fast at translating. So going back to that sheet, the data I showed you earlier, that guy who was the fastest post editor was also the fastest translator. So people who are already fast translators, if you can just get them to reduce their OCD, you know, the part of their brain that tells them don't fuck up on quality, just get them to let go.
We are recording, John.
Yeah. But that's really hard to do. That you have to coach them, because the problem is if they let go of it too much, then it's bad. So you have to distinguish between errors that are stylistic in nature. So the way I always put it is, it's like it was translated in the wrong direction in terms of source and target language. In other words, a native German translates into English. Yeah, that's what machine translation sounds like when you don't post edit it, right? Yeah. Or even if you do post edit it, it sounds like that. So don't promise the customer, you know, high quality style if you're post editing lightly.
Okay, so the question from Alp was, what size is accepted as a large TM? But maybe we can rephrase that a little bit to what is the number of segments or number of words that are worth?
Okay, well, okay, so yeah, so for the sake of a round number, let's call it 1 million segments, right?
Yeah, okay.
So that's what, 10 million words, but or 20 million, depending, right? So the problem is that number is changing. So phrase-based statistical machine translation required less data than neural systems. Neural systems require much more data. The second problem is that highly morphologically rich languages, all of the Slavic languages, Hungarian, Icelandic, all these languages that have very rich morphology, they require more data. So I thought a few years ago that there wouldn't be good machine translation going from Polish to English. Turns out we have Polish to English in Transpiral now. We have lots of it into English languages, and we see good output from machine translation. Not as good for Russian and Polish, for example. It's not as good as German English, but it's starting to get there. And I'm optimistic or pessimistic, depending on how you measure it, that it will get better over the next 2 or 3 years in those languages. It'll probably start to approximate English at some point.
Okay, we have 2 more questions. I don't know, Indre, how much
yes, we have 2 more questions, but maybe we can leave this. John, will you stay here till the very last minute? So maybe we can, you know, do this after we are done, at least, or after the Benny will give his speech, and we will see if we will have time, then we can come back to the questions. What do you think?
Can I just say one last thing?
Yeah, sure.
It's an offer of collaboration. So we have our login plugin for Trados. I stopped working on it about a year ago or a year and a half ago because we got so busy in Transpiral with translation work. We're about to get quiet again. Nothing to do with COVID. It was a project that was finishing anyway. So it's sort of semi-lined up for me to start working on it again. If anybody is curious about it, I'm happy to give you a demo and we could discuss some form of collaboration, maybe in a month or 2.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure we will come back, you know, to these MT questions a bit later. And now I would like to ask Benny to take the stage and to give us some ideas, some insights, some thoughts maybe about the growth and strategies, right? Okay, 10 minutes, yours.
Hello, everybody. I'm Benny Orr. I'm from Tel Aviv. For those of you who don't know me, basically I know all of you, I think. A quick background. I was one of the biggest LSPs in Tel Aviv. I sold this company to Transperfect 2011. Since then, I was and still working as mergers and acquisitions consultant. In recent years, I do mentorship. I mentor companies, owners, managers for strategic growth, moving to the next level, sales development, and company development by its whole. In this period, it's a bit weird to talk about growth. However, I'm going to talk about something that I would call it from crisis to performance. It's no secret that we all been impacted by this virus, and already people are talking about the fact that this is one of the biggest impacts on the new world in the recent 100 years. So it's quite obvious that we need to understand and think about how to react, what to do with our business, and where are we going, basically. So, like a good coach, I will start with a few questions. You don't have to answer, but you answer for yourself and maybe later. Questions like, what are your starting point right now? Where are we at? I will talk about we, but you can think about this for yourself. Where is the starting point for my company after this pandemic is calmed down? What about, I would start and ask about cash flow. Where is my cash flow? Is it positive? Is it negative? Where it is going to be? What about projects? Where are my projects? Or let's say, for some companies, I know that most of the projects being halted or even canceled, being moved to 2021. So where are my projects? What is my assessment about this? Where are my employees? Did I release some of the employees? Did I put them to vacation? Are they gonna come back? I don't know. I heard about a translator which says I'm gonna do something else. I cannot trust this. I'm gonna be a truck driver. So is he gonna come back to translate? I really don't know. What happened to collections? What happened to funds that other clients still owe us for the last month's work? Are we gonna get it? Are we gonna have these funds, or maybe we are gonna lose it? These are questions. So let me share something from my screen, just for a minute. Just a minute, it's here, this one. So, do you see it?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
No,
Okay.
you just simply press on the button share screen, then you have to open on your computer first.
Yeah, it is. So.
And then double click on it.
It's amazing. It's clicked already. Okay.
Because no one is sharing now, so you should be able to share what you have on yours.
Do you see it now?
No.
No, I don't understand this. I'm pressing the. Okay.
Are you maybe using two monitors?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not. Okay, share here.
Yes, it's on now.
Okay. Okay. So if you look at this graph, this is, by the way, my only slide. Yeah, one slide is more than enough. So if you look at this graph, You may see that if we are here, you grew your company. You see my cursor over here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you grew your company, you raised your revenues, and you become a good company, and you got until here, and suddenly this pandemic started, and within 1 month we started to lose everything. And when the peak arrives, so some countries didn't arrive yet. I think, for example, in Israel, we think we are already there at the peak or at the dip, at the lowest dip now, and you lost all your revenues almost. Everything is halted. So what is going to happen? How are we going to deal? What about our clients? Where are our clients? Let's say the revenue generators. A question: Are they in the same situation as us? It's a rhetorical question, of course. Of course they are. What would happen to projects over there? What would happen to even POCs, your point of contacts over there? Maybe they were released from their company, so you'll have to start all over again with your clients. Do sales from the beginning. What about accounting, new procedures, maybe new strategies? Even I see clients that have even end clients which we work for that have new strategies for their own products. So everything should be changed. They are going to develop new verticals, new areas to work in. It may take time until we see something from them. What about our team? We had to release probably some people. There's almost no company that someone hasn't left or went to a vacation, a long vacation, which we don't know if he will come back. If this guy or this person is, let's say, had an important role in our company, we would need to bridge this. And in order to do this, we'd have to invest time and effort. So we have to be prepared for this. So as for freelancers, maybe freelancers would find to do something else, and we will lose some of our freelancers. So after saying that things are not gonna be the same, so I would summarize it into one sentence saying, the new normal is gonna be different than the one that we knew before this pandemic. So we are gonna have a new normal, and we have to be aware and accept it. We cannot fight it. So let me give you some tips or some, let's say, starting points to think about where to look, what to do with it. And the first one, I'm dividing it into three sections. One section is your personal tools. I have a list of capabilities that I would offer or I would suggest to have, but I would talk about only one. At this point, we don't have enough time.
You still have a few more minutes.
Yeah, I have enough to talk about. So
okay.
One thing that I would like to talk about, look at it from your own perspective, is flexibility. Even if you weren't flexible, maybe things were just working for you. Everything was working okay. It's not gonna continue. You must be flexible. You must move to a flexible movement all the time. Maybe these changes, these adaptations, these corrections should happen not on a monthly basis, maybe on a weekly basis, sometimes on a daily basis. You have to be flexible with everything, with everyone. There's no other way. You must be flexible. Please remember this. This is very, very important. Going, or let's I'll keep one for the end. One is looking at your organization, even if it's a one person company, and even if it's 100 or 1,000 people. We need to move now from long-term thinking to short-term thinking. It means that what's most important in your company's continuity now is oxygen. Oxygen means cash flow. You must maintain your cash flow, to my opinion, on a daily basis. Every day you start your morning with looking at your cash flow. Your cash flow should contain everything from income, from any expense that you might have, from bank fees, from I don't know, Apple Music, which you subscription. Everything should be there, and you should maintain it not according to the what's happened in the past, but for the future. I'm leading with my companies. I'm leading like a mindset of half a year ahead of cash flow. How can I know what would be my income? How can I know what would be my expenses? Anything that you know already, put it over there. A simple Excel will do it. Put an Excel with minus for expense, plus for positive for income, and results for the outcome for each and every line. Look at it as the Bible right now. There's no other way. There's no other way to survive this period here where we are down and we would like to grow a bit, to ramp up a bit in this graph. We must have a cash flow management. And it will show you, or let's say something, of course it will show you where are you going to be, but the most important thing is no surprises. Even if it's not good, you will be prepared. You'll know what to do, maybe. You'll find solutions, but no surprises. This is cash flow management. Two more things. I call it to the world, outside. There's one very important thing which I think is the most important right now in this period. Show value. Show value meaning give everyone value. If you talk to a client in each and every conversation, in every talk, in each and every email, of course that in each and every delivery, show value. Show people must see that you give them value, that you are valuable to them. This is crucial. This is very important, because if someone is not valuable enough, then you will go to be not on the first line, you go to the second line or to the third line or outside of the system. So show value to everyone. I can tell you from my view, whenever I talk with someone, not only business, but also if I try to help someone or if I just work with someone, I try to give value on each and every meeting, each and every call. This is the way it's being done, and this is very, very important. And above all, I would say something which is, you can look at it personal, organizational, anything, but this is really, really important at this point. No fear. Do not afraid, because fear makes you paralyzed. Fear makes you not getting the right decisions. Look, reality is one thing, and this is what we have. But if we are gonna be fear or be afraid of all the time from what's gonna happen, what is gonna happen in next year, what is gonna happen in 2 years, where am I gonna be? nothing, it will not help you. So look, make small steps. Do not afraid from seeing the reality. Look at your cash flow, look at everything that you are doing. Try to have good spirit with everyone, with your employees, with your family, with your friends. Be positive, and it will work. You see over there, you see this is the moon. You'll get there. You just have to decide that you're going there. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Benny. Thank you. So I think it's now time not to get to the moon, but to get to the kitchen to refill our glasses. What do you think?
Good idea.
Let's do 10 minutes break, because Jessica Radke will join us shortly, and she will give us the presentation speech about the sales and how this can help us in this situation. Okay, so let's do 10 minutes break now. We can still, who wants, they can chat here. It's not restricted, so feel free.
Indra, I'm here.
Yes. Okay, Jessica, but we still need to refill our glasses.
I understand. I just wanted to let you know I was here.
Okay, perfect. I was worried, that he will not make it.
I had a client who wanted to really talk.
Okay. Okay, 10 minutes break now.
Thanks for the presentations. It was very interesting.
Actually, I have a question for Ben, if you don't mind.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
Ben?
okay.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that part.
Sure, go ahead. Hi, Michal.
Okay.
Hi. I actually, one of the things that I feel in our industry is that I think for the most part, or many people, we ourselves are not affected as far as our ability to offer the service, because we are all based on the online. We have freelance translators. I think for many companies, it's relatively easy to work from home. So it's not like, I don't know if we need to make too many adaptations to our, the way we run our business. But our clients are the ones that are shutting down and are not wanting, maybe are scared or paralyzed or not giving the business. So maybe Benny, you can address this issue too, if you understand. I mean, my question is, how do we approach clients? What should be our marketing thoughts, because maybe if they're not contacting us, so maybe we need to contact them, or maybe you have some ideas what we can do about that. Because basically, I mean, if I'm sitting home, I'm fully available to anything they need, translation and interpretation, if they're willing to go online.
Okay, that's a good question. I can tell you that some of the companies are in let's say in a better situation, better place with that, meaning everyone are used to work from home. Systems are everything is computerized, automated. And however, if we will sit and wait for clients to contact us, we will not probably have any client, any work. At this point, definitely you have to be very, very operative, very, even I would say pushy, in order to get or to keep your existing clients first, because probably you'll get a lot of information from contacting them about what are their plans. Are they going to translate? Are they going to do the new manual, the new product? Maybe they're going to freeze it for the next year. So you'll know where you are at. This is one thing. And second, you need to offer your services, maybe change some prices, be more attractive, because competition is going to be extremely difficult at this point. I would not want to get into sales right now, because we are going to have a good presentation from Jessica. But I think we should not sit and wait anymore. We should be assertive and even pushy for this.
Okay,
Benny, sorry, there was another idea that was circulating among the businessmen, I mean the heads of the companies in Eastern Europe. The idea is quite opposite to what you have expressed. They say crises are coming and going, and think twice if you give in now and make prices lower, because afterwards it will be very hard to get them higher. Sorry.
Understood. And I'll give you my point. My point is, I think that this crisis is way different than any crisis being before. Alexander, I'm coming from a place where crisis is the standard. Okay. So basically, we handle crisis on a daily basis, all kinds of. So I can tell you from my view, this crisis is different. This crisis is way more difficult, and it influences all of the world. And if you have other ways to value your clients now and to make them trust you and want to work with you on the long term, do it. I think that lowering prices and not to the ground, but something that you still earn something, but not at the same margin that you had before. I even suggested some of my clients to give discounts of projects which are already running. You already have a PO from a client for some kind of a job, and I said give them a discount, even small one, even 5% on this. Show them that you care. Show them that they are important. Show them that you will be with them. And whenever you give, you get back. Okay? This is
Benny, this is Jessica. Just real quick. I kind of agree with that, as long as you negotiate that this is this is temporary and not forever. I also think it depends on the industry that your clients are in. Like hypothetically, I would not offer Amazon a discount right now because they're making piles of money. I think, be judicious about that, but some industries are doing extremely well. So anybody dealing in alcohol, I heard the other day that alcohol sales in the United States are up 42%, which is a lot.
Jessica, I didn't know that you're contributing to it that much.
Another package at my door. My housemate is an Amazon Prime junkie, so I don't know how it is in the rest of the world, but I think there are businesses who are doing quite well in this. I'd be a bit judicious, but I agree with your intent, Benny, that being generous right now when people are clearly having a hard time, and I would say those people who are having a real hard time, whether it's getting online and functioning well, which I can say I know a few people struggling with that. And yeah, I mean, building loyalty with existing clients is something I definitely agree with. I'll stop because I'm going to get an opportunity to talk in 2 seconds. So.
Yeah, indeed.
So, Jessica, I have a very good answer for you.
Okay.
And my answer is I drink for this.
Yeah, let's raise some industry.
I would, but it's 9 o'clock in the morning for me. It's a little
Is this a problem, Jessica?
Well, it is, because I have a conference call after this that is really important.
Okay, so we may have one for you.
You definitely can do that. Please do.
We'll do, promise. This was an easy one.
I have a question for Benny. Also, Razvan had a question. If you lower your rates, how can you get back to a higher rate after the crisis? This is actually a very good question. We lived through this in 2008, and it was, I think some of our prices are still at that point. So I'm not sure if, lowering even 5% on your prices as a translation agency is actually kicking your margin for a lot more, because obviously you have expenses, right? So that's one way to look at it as well. But yeah, sure, you want to help your good clients and just kind of make sure that they understand that when all this goes away, your prices are coming back because you have people to pay, mortgages to pay, and you know, your kid wants new shoes.
Right.
But my question was that you talk a lot about cash flow. So do you have an experience on how much cash flow is sort of healthy to have in a company? Because I hear a lot around from this and that, and you know, Apple has gazillions, but none of us is at that point just yet. So what would you suggest? How much money to put aside for crisis like that? Because as someone said, the crisis come and go, and just inevitable that we are, you know, after this one, there's going to be another one. So maybe we can prepare better.
Okay, I look at cash flow in, let's say, you're talking about cash flow as well as on savings for future events. Let's call it like that. Basically, I would, you know, I'll try to give the best answer I can give you is you should have enough cash flow to be on the positive side of the line. This is very important. And let's add some timestamp to this, at least for the next 6 to 10 months. If you can prepare yourself to have enough cash flow for this period, probably you will survive this effect and be strong enough. I think also that you have to look at everything that have influence on cash flow. I can tell you that I read a nice article here in one of the business magazines, saying that the biggest effect is on office buildings. People found out that people found out that there's no need for big office space if they need an office at all. If they need an office, it will be 1/4 of what they had. So this is like a way, for example, for some companies to save money. Automation, machine translation, automated project management, all kind of this new technology and AI should work for you right now to save money and to have a better cash flow. But I'm saying cash flow. I said cash flow today like a lot of times. I want to defer it from profit. I want to defer it from margin. I want to defer it from any. Cash flow is oxygen. If you don't have enough cash flow and you get a loan, or you do not get a loan from your government, because in some countries you can find ways to get support like this. In the US it is working already. In Israel, for example, it will work soon. I think in a week time people could get a lot of loans in very good conditions. So this also is a cash flow engine that you may use.
Excuse me, boys. Sorry to interrupt you, but we are already 10 minutes behind. So if you don't mind, have you refilled your glasses? And can we continue?
Yeah, there were just a couple of more questions.
So we will come back to the questions, Nenad, later. Let's do the sessions first, and then we can have the discussion afterwards. Okay? Okay, Jessica, what can you tell us about sales? Share your brilliant ideas with us. You have your 10 minutes.
Well, it might be 10 minutes. We'll see. You know, I think that just to go back to some things that Benny was saying, and also the question that sort of prompted, you you know, what can we do? And the entire, my entire talk is about, we need to be proactive. Don't sit around and wait for clients to call you, because they're not going to. At the same time, I think, you know, approaching clients, like I've got some insurance guy calling me right now, well, several in the US, because I'm buying health insurance here. And they're being everything that I just can't believe they're doing at this stage. I mean, they're being very aggressive, and they're doing old-fashioned selling, like, you know, when are you going to buy? That's not the right approach right now. And, you know, I think that the sensitivity is the key, and I've experimented with this a little bit myself, but I've been reaching out, I wish I could say to everybody, but to my clients, to people I haven't spoken to in a while. I didn't sell anything. All I asked was, how are you doing? Isn't this crazy? You know, all the things that all of us are thinking. And the response to those emails, so I sent about 20 of those out, and my response rate to those was 100%.
So people, they wanted to be asked. They
wanted to be asked. They wanted to just, I think, you know, people, a lot of people aren't, and my housemate included, she's not used to working from home. Her company's still kind of struggling with some of this stuff. We don't have kids around here, but I know some of you have kids, and you're teaching algebra and maths and all sorts of things that you weren't expecting to do. You know, so people are really busy, but at the same time, we're, you know, they're feeling disconnected and feeling, you know, in some ways alone. And so I think from a sales perspective, I think it's wrong to push people to buy your services. But to Benny's point, especially with existing customers right now, I think it's really important to express care for them as people. I mean, you know, they're people too, and they have worries and concerns and overworked and all that sort of stuff. So being in touch with them is kind of an opening door, actually, because with a number of the people that I sent those emails to, we've actually scheduled one-on-one conversations to talk about life in general. And in a couple of cases, it migrated into business plans. Again, to Benny's point, you know, we started talking about, well, what is the future going to look like? Well, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but, you know, some of my customers are working on different, you know, like worst case scenario, best case scenario. And, you know, that's important information for you as a business to understand where their business is going. I think in our industry, we're pretty good at that because of networking events like this, where we're talking and we're brainstorming and we're coming up with ideas with each other. And there's a lot of power in that. In terms of, you know, specific ideas or suggestions, I guess, you know, in this case, it's obvious social tools, much more so than they used to be, and this networking event is part of that. We don't have the face-to-face meetings, we don't have the conferences, things like that to go to, but we can reach out one-on-one, which I think is more important right now. I think staying visible is the key, and offering some kind of value. So we could reduce our rates, but maybe there are things we could just add value to. Maybe there are areas where clients are struggling to get online virtually, and our industry is really good at this. Maybe we could just help them figure that out as a nice thing to do for people. And for me, that's kind of, you know, playing the longer game and putting money in the bank, as it were, with your clients. And if any of your existing customers are struggling, which I think they're probably more likely to share in a time of crisis like this, because we're all experiencing it, then you can figure out ways maybe to help them, that it might not be translation, but it's a way to keep that relationship going. Clients, it's a little bit trickier, but I would want to know where they're going online. What webinars are they going to, so that you can understand what's going on in their industries and maybe work out a solution, especially where perhaps some of them are struggling, or, you know, doing a bit of research, since we all have a bit more time, you know, what industries are doing well. So I mentioned before, the alcohol industry is doing extremely well, at least here in the States. Amazon is doing amazingly well. You know, what other online, Zoom is doing well, not that we're all going to call Zoom and try to get their localization business, but figuring out other pockets of potential business where maybe they haven't needed to localize before, but they do now. But that's up to us to research and find out. The other thing that I think is really interesting is some of my clients have reached out to me in very unusual ways. So I've been getting a lot of voice messages on, not WeChat, FaceTime, just saying, hey, Jessica, you know, just reaching out. I don't really have a lot of time. I'm kind of busy this morning. We have a lot of government work coming in, but just checking in to be sure you're okay. We had a bit of an emergency last week. I got this big whole thing about his daughter going in the hospital, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I called him up and we had a great conversation, and we're making plans for probably about 4.5 months from now, 5 months from now, when he is planning a big initiative in a new marketplace. So I found that out, and that's going to be future business for me. Sending a video message might be an interesting thing to do, just to reach out again to customers. I think this also offers us an opportunity to be sure that we have as many contacts in our existing customers as possible. Again, I can't speak for the entire world, but I can tell you in the United Kingdom and the United States, unemployment is going to reach new highs. It's already reached the highest point ever since 1982 in the United States. There are almost 20 million people unemployed. Surely some of that is going to be in our end customers. Some of it will be in other suppliers. I can't believe that some LSPs are not going to be affected by this. It sounds, it doesn't sound nice, but I think that's the reality. And if you only know 1 or 2 people in an LSP client or an end client, I would be doing some research and seeing if you can get to know other people and reaching out to them. Because if one of the people or both people you know leaving or are made redundant, you're going to be in a pretty precarious situation, at least potentially. So I would use this opportunity to do some research on LinkedIn, find out who other people are. Maybe, just maybe, they will offer to refer you to other, you know, your existing contacts will refer you to other people within those accounts. It could mean additional business. It may not, but it will certainly ensure that you know the right people moving forward, particularly after this is over. The other thing, and I think Sarah, you probably touched on this, so I won't rain on your parade too much, but in terms of social, because I think social is very much magnified. I mean, there are a lot of really crummy LinkedIn profiles in our industry. And, you know, if you've got 10 minutes of time here and there, you can make sure that your profile's optimized, that you're connecting with people on LinkedIn, that maybe you're publishing content, that you're providing value to people and being visible so that they know that you're there. Where am I on time? I don't want to keep going.
1 minute left. 1 minute
One
left.
minute left. Yeah, so I think really in summary, it is that personal connection that's going to make the difference. And by reaching out in a personal way, and really and truly, I think my mistake was doing it via email. I think the video idea is a pretty good one. And I love getting the voice message sent to me because it's just that much more personal. So in summary, I'd say personal, reach out to your existing customers first and foremost. Be active in the social settings that we have available to us. I was in a meeting the other day where someone actually offered to include another LSP on a bid. So, you know, it is possible if you just put yourself out there. So don't sit around and wait for it to come in, go out and get it.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Do we have any questions, Nenad?
Actually, I think we only have one kind of comment from Razvan. He says, if you rely on a person, single contact, then you're not providing a service to your client.
No, you're not. Absolutely agree.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sure that,
yeah, no,
Jessica, if you can stay with us for another 30
Oh, yeah,
minutes.
yeah. I've got time now. I just was on a call earlier.
Okay, perfect. So I'm sure that we will have, more questions afterwards, when we are done. Sarah.
Here's one question. I don't know if we have time, maybe. So,
yeah, well, okay, Nenad. Sarah, if you can hold on for a second, Nenad.
So, Michael is asking, what questions should I ask the client?
How are you doing?
Yeah.
Just be honest. I think, the most important is that you have to be honest.
Yeah, tell them about, oh, I'm so lonely. I thought I'd give you a call. I miss our, I just want to know how you're doing. Because we've all been very sort of, in some ways, self-absorbed because we're all trying to work out, what the heck is going on. So, yeah, exactly. What's up?
Okay, thank you.
Because you don't want to be too nosy, on one side. You have to be a bit sensitive.
No, but just ask them how they're doing. And nobody gets upset about asking how are you doing. They'll share with you as much as they
also,
want to.
Basically, we are asking these questions because in the back of our mind we want work, right? So we need to focus on a few but maybe even now. So we need to focus on a few questions that will lead, I think, to the right direction to get them maybe ask us for work. Or you think just how are you?
I would not put. I tried pushing it with one client.
Yeah, that's it. Not to be too pushy, right?
She just kind of, all I got was silence for about 20 seconds. It was decidedly uncomfortable. And I just said, oh, sorry, I kind of pushed it a little too hard there. I'm really just curious, because it was a project that's coming up. It's been postponed, which I sort of figured it would be. But yeah, that was a mistake. I think as things settle and things start to look more certain, we might be able to be a little bit more assertive in that regard. But I think right now it's almost disrespectful because you don't know how this is impacting their lives.
Yeah.
And if I may add, just maybe simply, ask, how are you? How are the things? And you just see, if he wants to talk to you. If not, just finish the conversation and that's it.
Or send a WhatsApp message before to see if it's a good time to talk.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, ladies.
And Jessica, it's great to see you after our swim in Dubrovnik.
Yeah, I'm not doing a lot of swimming right
now. No, we're not. But it was
okay, fun. Sarah, we want to hear you now. How are you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Fine, thanks. Sorry I missed your webinar yesterday. I was on the road. I just couldn't make it.
No worries. It's up on YouTube now. So
thank you.
With it if you want to see it.
Okay, 10 minutes for you.
No pressure then. Awesome. So today I quite like to go over digital marketing really, really quickly. It's going to be very hard to kind of talk about everything in 10 minutes, but hopefully I can give you a few ideas of kind of what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing, building on really nicely from what Jessica said, because she had really great tips. So I think one of the biggest problems that people face right now with marketing is they stop marketing because they think nobody's listening. They think now's not the time for making sales. They need to save money. So you know what, first things first, let's get rid of our marketing because it's pointless. That is the biggest mistake that everybody can do. As Jessica said, people aren't ready to buy right now, and now's not a good time to push people to buy, but people are listening. People have more time, they're on LinkedIn, they have more time to research everything, so they are listening, and you need to be the first person that they think of when they're ready to buy. So your marketing efforts should kind of not be based around a quick sale right now. It should be based around being in people's minds for 2 months' time when they're ready to order translation services into a particular language or something. When it comes to what you should be doing regarding digital marketing, if you haven't been investing in it and you're new to it, now's not the time to start things like SEO. SEO normally takes around 6 months to see results. So if you invest in that now, it's not going to pay off. What you need to be doing is taking baby steps so that you can boost your visibility right now. Ways that you can do that is through finding out more about your audience. You need to find out what their pain points are. You need to do some research. Now would be a perfect time to come up with buyer personas. So you know what sort of content you need to be doing for them. Rather than sending out emails telling people that you're working from home, once you've found out what they're looking for, once you've found out what their pain points are, you can put together tips on kind of how to order translation services, how to save money on your translation services without cutting your budget for translators. You could tell them all about technology that's available that can make their lives a bit easier, and you can just educate them about the process. The thing with marketing is you need to be you need to be able to kind of give away your knowledge. Don't be paranoid. Don't keep everything to yourself. Don't be scared that competitors are going to copy your ideas. You need to be showcasing that you're an expert in your field in order for people to kind of be attracted to you. So what you should be doing now, I think the best tips I can suggest is don't panic. Don't cancel your marketing. Keep going with what you're doing. Another thing that you need to be careful is not take advantage of the situation. I have been contacted by a couple of LSPs who have started selling face masks to try and get money in, and it looks really bad. It looks like you're just trying to make money from the pandemic, and it's not showing your business in a good light. So yeah, CCJK. Thanks, John. Keep connected. As Jessica said, reach out to your clients. The chances are everybody is struggling. Everybody's not okay in this. So the more you support them, the more that you show that you care, you're going to build solid relationships with these people. And when things go back to normal, it means that they're going to buy more from you. Another thing you can do is help others. If you're contributing to the local community, and if you're donating, if you're volunteering, make sure that you're showing it off online so that people know that you care and you're doing something. The thing about a global pandemic is it's kind of showing who are the good guys, who are the greedy, or that you're seen as one of the good guys who are helping out. Next thing you need to do is kind of adapt your offering as much as possible. I know with translation, there's not really that much you can adapt because we're able to work remotely, as was mentioned earlier. But if you're in an interpreting company, for example, instead of doing face-to-face interpreting because events aren't on because people have to social distance, adapt your offering so that you do remote interpreting. I know it takes work and I know it's going to be really hard to adapt, but those of you who adapt will get through it. As I mentioned, keep connected and know your customers. Give them content that addresses their pain points, and just let them know that you're there for them. So a few practical tips that you can do, which are really nice and easy. You can update your website, let people know that you're open. Update your Google My Business. Some people have been complaining that Google My Business has automatically marked them as closed during the virus, and you never know how that might be affecting your sales. So make sure you mark on there that you are open as normal. I don't really like the idea of giving people discounts, but you can give people special offers, and you can support clients who are having a bit of a tough time, so that you do get some more work through this. You can think about holding special events for customers. You can think about holding special events for potential customers, like webinars, like what we're doing here, getting everybody together. Try and share as much helpful tips and learning material as possible, because people finally have time to learn things. So you could teach them more about the translation process and how it works. You could also add an online chat feature to your website. Most importantly as well, adapt your content to make it suitable for what's going on. I used to work as a freelancer about 10 years ago, and sometimes I still get emails from companies that I used to work for. And I got one a couple of weeks ago from an LSP telling me that they didn't have money to pay their translators anymore. It was a very reputable agency, so it didn't sit very well. I went onto LinkedIn, and 2 seconds later, I saw a post from exactly the same company telling me that they've welcomed 3 new salespeople to their team. And having just read that they can't afford to pay their translators, and then saying that they're growing and they're buying new salespeople, they're hiring new salespeople. Sorry, it really does not show show that they care, and is kind of very much, I wish I could just shout shame on you at them and name and shame them. That kind of leads to my next point, like, don't brag. If you're doing well, you need to understand that people are struggling now, and you need to be empathetic to the situation people are in. And another top tip I can give you is learn from this. Have a plan in place so that if it does happen again, hopefully it won't, it's easier for you next time. When it comes to marketing strategies and stuff, as Jessica said, spend this time to work on your LinkedIn profile, spend this time putting content together. Blogging is really useful for your SEO. Make sure that you're sharing useful content that people actually want to read. Try and work on your SEO if you have time, if you're able to. But again, don't put all the pressure on yourself to do it. Marketing managers and marketing agencies are here for a reason. They're there to help you. Not everybody likes marketing, not everybody knows how to do marketing, so you don't have to do it all by yourself. So I think that's kind of the best tips I can give you in 10 minutes without going into much more detail and overrunning. Does anybody have any questions or anything they would like to hear about?
Thank you, Sarah, very much. Nana, do we have any questions?
I don't see questions. I see kind of comments. Maybe do you want me to read them out, or?
Oh yeah, you can go through them.
Omer says the most valuable offer is a personal approach and caring of the client without connecting to show you care. So this could be a part of your day.
Exactly, I agree more. Like, at the end of the day, everybody is human, and when it comes to marketing, people can tell when you're lying. People can sense when you're not being honest. Just be human. Just be nice to each other. Just care.
Indeed.
And it will see you come through the other side. And as I said, now's not the time for selling. Now's the time for helping. Have your marketing out there so that you're first company that people remember for the right reasons when you come out the other side.
I have a topic I wanted to suggest to you for your marketing material. I don't know, this is something I use, is that, people are home and watching a lot of TV and Netflix and different series and programs. So there are a lot of translation anecdotes in the media. A lot of movies and or scenes that you can talk about in your blog. Like an example, what I recently did, even though I haven't posted it yet, is even many people are going to watch the Game of Thrones, and there's an interpreter role in that series. I'm just saying one little.
Did she just break up or everybody's?
No, I think that we've lost her for a second.
Yeah. You don't speak about Game of Thrones.
I think no, that's a really good idea, because now people are watching lots of localized content on Netflix, and it's a really good opportunity to kind of educate people what we do and how we adapt things to different audiences. Like a really good example that I like using with clients in Dublin whenever they ask what localization is, it's like if you read Google's terms and conditions in Irish, instead of talking about baseball, they talk about hurling. Again, it's something really local, and you can do that by talking about TV shows and introduce to that way.
We have one more comment from Indre, which I think is actually a pretty cool thing. I have organized a webinar that what a translation agency does and can give to your company. So basically, this is for end clients, yes?
Yes, that's for end clients, because usually they don't know what the translation agency can give. They just think, you know, that the translation agency only translates. But, you know, they don't understand, you know, the added value, and they just simply, they are not well educated. And so I think it was a great chance, you know, to spread some news about the localization stuff, about translation, interpreting, and all the things. Yeah, so I would highly advise all for you to do. Well, my webinar was in Lithuanian, so anyone can join who wants. It will be the next one will be on Wednesday. We can ask Umit, you know, we can ask Umit, you know, to set up the remote interpreting. Then, okay, that was a joke. Okay, I want.
Actually, but if you read Lithuanian in like Dothraki accent, it sounds really cool.
Nice to
I
hear.
did yesterday with your post.
Yeah. Okay, I want to summarize to close, you know, the official part. Although, you know, the questions won't be cancelled, or like, you know, we will not close the seminar, the room. So I want to thank all of you, and each individually, especially, you know, the speakers. I was so surprised, you know, when I asked, you know, would you like to contribute to this? And they said yes immediately. So I had the program in 1 hour. So this was something. And they did this on a volunteering basis. So big applause to them. I hope you enjoyed this session. And so I'm leaving, abandoning my throne here. I will pass this to Nenad now, because he will now deal with the questions and answers. Nenad, are you okay with that?
Yeah, we have a couple of questions.
Yeah, and I'll just stick, you know, to my glass, because, you know, my work day is over and the week is over. Cheers to everybody. Thank you.
Lucky you.
Yeah, so we have a question for John. Are you still here, John? About machine translation? Oh yes, you're here. Just you're muted. So can you?
Yes.
Yeah. So the question from Umit was if can you recommend an empty business model, for example, chat or raw empty, etc.
Sorry, can I recommend an MT service? Is that what he's asking?
I'm not sure what he meant by business model. Umit, are you here? Maybe you can elaborate. Is he here?
A payment model.
Yeah, I see his name, but I don't know if he's muted.
Yeah, so to be honest with you, the simplest payment model is just to reduce the work price in some sort of ratio with what you think the increase in productivity is, factoring in the quality requirement of the customer. Because the lower the quality requirement of the customer, the lower you can go with your word price, because the faster the translator can go. That's the theory.
Okay, we have one more from Alexander. How many translators is enough to claim that the result is statistical? Maybe somebody is not muted and is typing.
Okay, so I can answer the question on the basis of the paper, and that we use 20 translators working into 10 different language pairs, so 2 different translators per language pair. So we're pretty certain about our statistics. When you run it over 100,000 words and you A/B test on each person over a couple of days, you get enough data. So it's not so much about how many translators is significant. If I was to say 5, I mean, the thing is, the statistics actually start to make sense at 20, but you're never going to get 20 translators testing an MT system. So you're going to maybe get 3, 2, 3. The way I find it works better is just to establish what you think will work, and see if people can work at that price, and see if the customer can accept the quality and manage the quality actively. You know, quality can be a lot of things. It can be running the F8 test in Trados. It can be making sure that the terminology is being used. There are lots of different ways of measuring quality. So it's a bit difficult to answer that question in general.
Okay, thank you. The rest is for Benny.
I may have just gone offline.
Is he here or?
I'm here.
Okay, so actually these are, I think, not really questions, more like a comment. So Razvan said, clients will appreciate your continuous support more than the discount you're offering now. So do you have maybe anything to comment or agree, disagree?
Can you repeat, please, again?
Clients will appreciate your continuous support more than the discount you're offering now.
Look, you should decide. If you are a company owner or you're a manager, you should decide by yourself, according to your relations with this client, according to what is the risk in not giving this discount. I think you should come to a client now with something that you didn't give before. And being nice is not enough. It's not enough. You need to bring value, something that you can feel with your fingers. A discount is something like that. Even you were afraid that you'll not be able to raise the price again after a few months, I think it's worth it. I'm sure that people would, after everyone would get back to pace, you will be able to get back to your old prices. That's my opinion on this.
Okay, thank you. And we have another one from Alp, also more of a comment. How about a quote per project and making a discount to the project and not to your general price?
As well, you can call it the Corona discount. You can call it any name. You know, people should get should be valued with your proposal. You should give them this is a good thing to do. You can yeah, this is a good approach. Maybe not touching your price list, but on a project basis. Yeah.
Yeah, and probably also depends on your client. As Jessica mentioned, you don't want to give discounts to Amazon. They are cheap anyways. But you know, they're doing really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. That was it. We don't have any more questions, so we can now party.